Okay, looks like we are live now.
Hello, I can see your lovely face.
Woohoo!
Right, success, success, success.
We did
Oh
it.
my okay. All right then. This is what happens sometimes. And
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But guess what? We get it right.
all righty. All right. Well, you are the genius behind this awesome undertaking. So I'm gonna let you open this on up and bring us
Okay.
in.
Wonderful. So before we begin, let's go ahead and get started by centering ourselves and just really focusing on this time and space that we are in at this very moment. Um, we are releasing all distractions. We are releasing any of our thoughts that we may have had around technical difficulties, around time. We are embracing the present moment where we are perfect, whole, and complete. And this project is perfect, whole, and complete. This ministry is perfect, whole, and complete. Everything that we need, we already have. And we are grateful for the opportunity to share a message of healing, a message of peace. And we are grateful for all of those who will join us on this experience, in this experience. We are grateful that they are coming from every corner of the world because this is live and it's global. And we are grateful for this moment, grateful for the opportunity to share what has been instilled in us, in our hearts, and in our minds for the purpose of bringing world peace, peace from within. And we say, Ashe.
Ashe.
All right. So this is the debut, the inaugural episode of what we are calling New Thought. And this is, let's see, let me get it right. This is New Thought, New Life. Or wait a minute, let me get back to the right page. That's it. Okay. I'm trying to do this right. New Thought, New Life. And in that, we are going to be exploring during 2018 a book that we both have come across, and we have found it to be a wonderful resource that can assist with shifting our mindset around the thoughts that we have and just taking control. Some people call it mind science, some people call it mind shifting. And that's what we're going to be doing over the next 12 months, 52 weeks. We are going to be looking in depth into a book called A Course in Miracles. And this book is been used by millions of people around the world, and it's been very successful. But before we go into this book, we want to introduce ourselves because you want to know who is facilitating this 52 weeks of spiritual enlightenment. So, since I have the mic, I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself to our viewers and let them know who I am and where I come from and why this is so important to me and how this tool has really assisted me. So let me just say that I am Versandra Kennebrew, and I am a certified holistic health coach, an alumni of Institute for Integrative Nutrition, located in New York, New York. And I have been on this path as a healing artist and as a seeker of truth for, I would say, more than 20 years now. And on this path of personal development, spiritual enlightenment, growth, and whatever else you want to call it, I've learned a lot of really great things and I've met some really powerful, awesome people. And so, I can go on and on and on about the 6 books that I've written, about the speaking engagement that I do internationally, about the work that I do as a volunteer in service to America as an AmeriCorps Vista. I could talk to you about all of those things, but none of those really, really matter because I'm just an average, everyday person, just like everyone else that's seeking truth. And I've been doing it for a long time. I started out in a Baptist church as a itty bitty child, right there alongside my grandmother, going to church every Sunday, wanting to learn how to please God. Ultimate goal. How can I make God happy with me? And so I went to church every Sunday and probably every Wednesday, every Thursday. I went to Saturday. Every time the door was open, I was there. When I was younger, I was being forced to attend because my grandmother made it, you have to be here, I don't care what you do, you're going to be in church. And so that was when I was younger. But by the time I turned 18, at that point, it was my choice. And that's when I decided that I wanted to live for God. And I didn't know what that really meant. I just knew that it was something that it was exciting. And if God is the creator of all things and maker of anything that we see around us, then hey, that's the person, if you will. At that time, it was a person that I wanted to please and that I wanted to do good, you know, toward or make happy. So later on, after moving around and studying, what I think I went from African and Methodist Episcopal to finally I found unity. I found unity churches when I lived in Detroit, Michigan. And by that time, I was in my 30s. So here I am, this seeker of truth for all of these years. And, I'm not a person that is against any form of religion because they are all awesome. Anything that leads you to the truth is awesome. However, I got to a point where I outgrew the teachings that were being taught in traditional churches, and I found myself just gravitating toward the New Thought movement, which is not new at all. And I want to pass the baton over to Kanaya because Kanaya is she has actually studied New Thought as a minister. And I know that she has a lot of great insight around what New Thought is. So, in her introduction, I hope that she will take that on, and then I'll come back and talk to you a little bit more in a few moments about what A Course in Miracles is.
All right. Well, thank you, V. All right. So we have heard from the illustrious and awesome Versandra Kennebrew. My name is Kanaya Kennedy, and as she said, yes, I am an ordained minister, and I've been studying New Thought formally inside of ministry since, goodness, 2013. It's hard to believe it's been 5 years.
Wow.
And I first became ordained back in 2008. And that's a little bit about me and how I came to be here. My goodness. I grew up in the church as well, but kind of a different experience, as I started learning about other people. I grew up, my mother at the time was Seventh-day Adventist. And so if anyone's familiar with Seventh-day Adventist, you go to church on Saturdays as opposed to Sundays. They follow a vegetarian diet. And that was not necessarily the most common thing in Detroit, Michigan in the 70s and early 80s. But that's what I grew up with. And what was awesome about that is that we had Bible study on Friday nights because Friday night began the Sabbath. And so you fellowshipped. Then we had church on Saturday. And we also fellowshipped after church. But then here's the kicker. My dad was from the AME church. And so guess who also went to church on Sundays? This so I
got
was
it all.
in church on Saturday, Sunday, Friday night. It was and it was interesting, and we were vegetarian, so we were eating healthy, but it was all a lot different than most of the people who I encountered, let's say in school. You know, we couldn't eat on pizza days. We were not allowed to have pizza because it had pepperoni on it. Or we always had to get the special pizza with just cheese, right? So my experience inside of my religion growing up was that it was always very different than everyone else's. But I'll tell you, I'm so grateful because the first books I remember reading were Bible stories for children. And inside of those stories, you had this message as God as love, as Jesus as love. And so my experience was that God is love and Jesus is love and all about helping people and God has your back. You know, I remember the visuals of Daniel in the lion's den and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the furnace and how God always protected you and had your back. And that's what I grew up in. Always loved the Lord, wanted to be an awesome person, very helpful. By the time I turned 12, I formally chose, we believe that was the age of accountability. I formally chose to give my life to God. I got baptized. Now, by that time, we left the Adventist church and the AME church because we came to our parents, me and my sister. At the time, we were like, listen, this Saturday, Sunday, Friday night thing is not the hotness. What can we do about this? And my parents actually moved us into a non-denominational spiritual center in Detroit, Michigan. Some of you all may have heard it, called Word of Faith Christian Center.
Oh, I've been there.
Yes. And that was probably from about the age 9 until I left the house to go off to college. And we had children's church. I love children's church. Again, this message of God is love, lots of singing and wonderful stories. But I can tell you, for me, things began to shift a little once I left the children's church ministry and I transitioned into the adult church. And it felt like to me that the God that I had grown up with, that I loved, that I knew loved me, oh my goodness, had turned into this mean, judgmental figure. Right? And yeah. And I grew up, I'm a dancer. Many people don't know that. I love dancing. And because I'm a dancer, I love music and I love dance and I love the physical expression of dance through music. But when I got out of children's church, music was bad. Dancing wasn't allowed. It was kind of like the movie Footloose in some instances. And I'm like, but I love to dance. And I began my conflict. That's when my conflict began, where I began to wonder, well, what's wrong with me? Am I really a horrible sinner? Because I love music and I love dancing and movement so much. I was a classical pianist. And I remember saying, well, classical music isn't praise and worship music. It doesn't even have any words. Is that okay? And being told, if it's not gospel music, it's of the world. Yeah. And I gave up playing the piano because I didn't really enjoy gospel music and gospel piano. I love classical music. And I gave that up. And I gave up dance. And it became this period of my life where it was like, now my spiritual quest was a burden. And I began to feel sinful and ashamed of myself. And that led me into, heading off to college, and then leaving the home. And for the first time having the choice, do I go to church or not? And like many college students, I didn't. Okay. And I didn't necessarily, I was one of those people who went buck wild because my foundation, as I shared, was in God and in love and understanding that God loved me and that there was to be loving and to love myself and to respect myself. So while I wasn't formally in church, I've always had God with me. And I became exposed, of course, in college to other religions. And I have a sorority sister who's a traditional Muslim. She wasn't even Nation of Islam Black. I was like, oh, black, Muslims are from the nation. She's like, no. She's like, no, we're not. I'm not in the nation. And I have a line sister, sorority sister, who's also Seventh-day Adventist. And so we had a lot in common. And we had Baptists. So it was all of that. And I met Buddhist people. And found out one of my past national presidents of my sorority was part of the Baha'i faith. And so this whole world of spiritual traditions became open to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I began the beginning of my own spiritual quest to find who is God for me.
Yes.
And what is our relationship and how do I live from that truth?
Mm.
And that was a long journey. And I can honestly say it wasn't until about 2007. Now I graduated from high school. I'm going to go ahead and date myself. I'm 41, about to be 42 and fabulous, so it's not a problem. I graduated from high school in 1993. And I can't say that I really found myself back with spirit until 2007. Well, we can say 2003, 2004 maybe. And that's when someone handed me a book by Marianne Williamson called A Return to Love.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Love that book.
And so from that book, I found myself then in 2013 formally entering a seminary program to become a unity minister.
Mm-hmm.
And I became an ordained minister, independent, in New Thought. And the biggest thing I can tell you is that for anyone who's like, well, what is New Thought? You've told us all about who you all are. I still don't know what this New Thought thing is. So let me tell you what New Thought is. In the simplest way that I can describe it, when we say New Thought, it's only new because we've gotten so far away from it inside of our traditional Christianity. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
New Thought is a new way of looking at spirit in this era, but it's like you said, it's nothing new. And it's a simple concept. God is love.
Mm-hmm.
God is love. We are
simple
creations of God. Therefore, we are love. And as creations of God, we are divine.
Yes.
That ultimately is New Thought. Mm-hmm. But why we say it's new? Because that's distinctly different than considering that God is divine and that we were made in God's image, and then somehow we turned into sinners. Like, right. And then God was mad at us, and right, like, right? So, yeah. New Thought, it's a way of shifting to getting God as Father, Mother, everything, source.
Yes.
God as energy, God as omnipotence. All power, not all powerful, but power. Mm-hmm. God, not as loving, but as love. Not God as all knowing or omniscient, but God as all knowledge. Mm-hmm. And as children, or as creations, or as extensions of God, we are love. And we are power. And we are divine. Was that simple enough? We'll get more into it, I promise. We definitely will get more into it. But that I find is the easiest way for me to share what New Thought is.
Absolutely.
So you're going to tell us a little bit about A Course in Miracles now, yes?
Yes, we're going to talk a little bit about A Course in Miracles and what it is. And you did mention Marianne Williamson. And so, okay, I'm not hearing something.
Yeah, we're focused on you. We see you, we hear you. Yeah.
Okay, good. So basically, you spoke about Marianne Williamson, and that was my introduction to what A Course in Miracles was really all about. Marianne Williamson in Detroit, Michigan, at the Church of Today. And it is I would say it's a New Thought church. Yeah. And it's a unity church. And she's no longer there. She's an independent minister now, just doing amazing work around the world. But she introduced this book called A Course in Miracles. And I'm just going to give you a brief intro to what A Course in Miracles is. And so basically what it is, there is a, let's see, there is a young lady who was given this message, which is, she basically was the scribe of this message that is designed to take us back to knowing who we are as true love, divine light, as creators, co-creators with God in everything that we see around us. And it was really wonderful because she received this information kind of like as a download. And, you know, as it came to be this awesome message. And I'm really trying to pull up some more details here because I want to make sure that I give this to you right, because
Yeah.
we are going to be talking about this for an entire year here. And we want to make sure we start on the right foot by making sure that you have the right information. So this young lady, she received this information. She was a psychologist. I can tell you that information up front.
Are you talking
And her
about, you talking
name,
about Helen?
Helen. Yes, there
Okay.
you go. And now I have the name. So this was Helen. And, you know, here it's just saying Helen and Bill, but I was trying to put her last name here. But I'm going to give you that in a few moments. But Helen received this information as a download, and she decided that she wanted to share it with the world. And I'm just gonna kind of read this to you verbatim so that I can make sure we get it right. A key idea that stands out in this section of A Course in Miracles is that Helen and Bill became, because of their little willingness to open to a better way of living their lives without the constant squabbling and conflict they were currently experiencing, it is most likely that each one of us is guided to the course, that we have at least some openness and readiness to receive the higher perspectives found in the content of the course. The course reflects a thought system that is the opposite in every way to the thinking of the world. If we already think we know it all and think we already have all the answers, we will not be open to these remarkable healing perspectives. So, the purpose of the Course in Miracles is to help us find our own internal teacher. Oh my
Mm,
God. Our own internal teacher. And that internal teacher is the divine spirit within us, which is God, everywhere evenly present. And it is teaching us and guiding us in the direction back home to ourselves. So, this is what this was all about. So, I'll read on. We are all like Helen and Bill, who forgot their true identity and were lost in dreams of separation from the source. Oh my God. Now that I got to stop right there. Separation from the source. Now, what does that really mean? You know, some people say, okay, well, I believe in God, so how can I be separate from the source? Well, if you believe that God is out there, somewhere up in the clouds, in the sky, somewhere that you can't touch, see, feel, then you are separate from the source.
mm,
So we had to, or we have to, we should go inside seeking God instead of out there so that
mm.
we can realize our connection and that we are one. And Jesus did that.
Exactly.
Jesus, master teacher Jesus, did that. And although we get the scriptures kind of confused because we only take it into our understanding, the way we can kind of perceive Jesus doing things, but Jesus was very clear in
Mhm,
the
mhm.
messages that he stated when he said, God and I are one. You know, when he said that, you know, what is one of the messages that he says that, you know, didn't I tell you? that ye are God's children of the Most High God. So if ye are God's and you are children of the Most High God, then guess what that means? That means you have so much power.
Mm-hmm.
That means that you have the ability to shift things, shift, see in the world today as, just treacherous, terrible, awful things. We have the ability to shift them through our thoughts. And this is just really awesome. So, A Course in Miracles. Oh my God, it is so deep because it's a serious. It has many chapters in it, and I'm just going to kind of show it to you. This is the this is the book. This is the text. It's the workbook. It is the teacher's manual. And this is what we want you to do at this moment is go, hey, Course of Miracles. We want you to go to our Facebook page. You can go to facebook.com, and that is /new thought, new life. And when you go there to that page, you will be able to click on the link where you can join our community. And once you do that and you join our community, you will get a message back that actually has the PDF version of this course where you can read along with us throughout the year as we begin to study this manual. And then you can also, if you want the books that we have, if you want something that you can touch, see, feel, and write in or take notes around and all that kind of stuff, there's also a link there so that you can download, or no, not download, but you can order the soft cover or the hardcover book to your home. Amazon can ship very, very quickly these days. Get it to you in a jiffy. And then you can follow us as we go through this process, and you can experience the shifting and changing in your mind as we really bring about more inner peace, which is going to turn into, of course, that outer peace that is going to change and heal our world. That's what we're doing right now. That's what I'm excited about.
So, I'm live on Facebook on my little personal page right now. So I was going to give a shout out to some folks. We got Katrina,
Yes.
I see Lee, I see Charo. What's up? Hello, hello.
Yes.
If you guys want to get in a discussion, please join us. You'll see the link I put in there. I think it says 22s.com. But that's where you can actually go check us out live, join the community, so you'll know we're going to be here every Sunday. This is the text. As Rasandra, if you're not on the live event, you just hear her talking, right? So, but this is the text. It's called A Course in Miracles, and as she said, it's an interesting book, because it's a guidebook, honestly, to get you back to God and to get you back to the knowing of who you truly are. It is. So this and who? How can I say this? It talks about the message of Jesus from the space of understanding that we are extensions of the divine, and understanding that we're here to reclaim that and to come back to knowing it. The reason Marianne Williamson's book, A Return to Love, was called A Return to Love is because this helps us get back to love for ourselves. And because once we love self, we then love else.
Yes.
It says the greatest two commandments, it says to love and God with all your heart and to love your neighbor or your brother as you love yourself. But I want everyone just to consider, if you believe that you're a sinner and that at your heart you're bad, it's kind of hard to love yourself, right?
And it
and then beyond that, it's kind of hard to then love others. So when we get back to loving us, it'll make it easier for us to love others. And then that's how then we begin to transform the world. So that's our goal. Ultimately, y'all, we're going to transform the world, but we're going to start with ourselves.
Yes.
Sandra and I, ministry, because listen, we get a lot of good information. We're doing it on Sundays. We're doing it on Sundays at once. That you have time, you go to church, do your praise, do your worship. Unity, which is how we both found New Thought, actually has its source in being practical Christianity. That's what it was called. Like the founders of Unity, who were Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. I won't get into a super history lesson, but what they started off doing was simply having classes on Sunday afternoons, just like this, after church, where they looked at how do we take what we're learning in church. Hi, Mark Barnes. How do we get what we're learning in church, right? And apply it into our lives so that we begin to receive the promises. Because we're promised.
Oh, yeah.
We're promised that we're supposed to live life and live it abundantly, right? That we're supposed to be healthy and prosperous, and that we are loved, and that we're going to inherit all of this, right? How do we begin to have it be present, to experience health, wealth, and prosperity, which are our divine birthrights? That's how Unity got started. New Thought movement got started. Oh, I won't get into whole transcendental. We won't even get into all that. We're going to say that it began just looking at what was being taught inside of church and then what was being done in the world, and maybe begin to see some discrepancies. I'm just going to take a moment. I'm going to speak to some of my chocolate, as I call Black people. So you hear me say chocolate folks, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, people of color. I've had many people of color ask me, how can you be Christian? How can you believe in the Bible? How can you believe in Jesus and all of that when this was something that was used to enslave us or justify slavery? Okay.
Yeah.
And I have to speak to that because it's actually one of the main reasons I went into the urban school. So Unity Worldwide, or Unity, you can check out unitybelievesunity.org. But there is a school called the Unity Urban Ministerial School. And when I got the call, well, it wasn't a call at that point, it was the slap to ministry, because I got the call to ministry many years prior, but I resisted it. And when Spirit was like, baby, you're going to do this. So let's go. I was like, all right, fine. I was in meditation to look up African Americans or Black people in New Thought. And I ended up finding the Unity Urban Ministerial School. And specifically, this school was designed to teach us how do we bring this message to the Black community, because this message is universal and this message is love. Inside of that study, because it's about the urban environment, which was code for Black people, right? There was a course called The History of the African American Church and African American Spirituality. This course and the text that went along with, and I'll drop it in our text resources on our page, so make sure you like our page. It really changed my life. Because what the text talks about was how Christianity went from being a teaching from the person known as Jesus Christ about love and community and sharing, right? Because that's the base of it. If you read the Gospels, that's the base. Jesus went around healing people and spreading a message of God is love. That was it. It's a simple concept. How did it go from that to being a spiritual tradition or religion that has been known as justification for things like the enslavement, right? Or the genocide of Native Americans, indigenous people? We had to look at that. And so that text talked about how Christianity found its origins in Northern Africa, which they want to call Middle East, whatever. Look at the map, right? And then became bastardized or became transformed into something that I don't know that early followers of the way, as it was called, would even recognize. So when we talk about New Thought was partially about returning back to the origins of Christianity, which has its origins in Northern Africa. So let's be clear about that. And not to get into a super history lesson, but if you look at the invasion of the Arabs into Africa, and then how then Christianity became kind of separated and it went into Europe, and it had a whole different kind of thing happening once the Romans and when all that happened. But it's a totally different conversation than what we know Jesus was teaching us. Okay.
Right.
So for anyone who may say, how can you be conscious or woke Black, African American, Indigenous woman, all of those things, which I claim wholeheartedly, it's because I'm working with the truth and with reality. And of course, in Miracles, one of the things I love about it, you'll find in one of the very first lessons, if it's not true, it's not real.
There you go.
So what a lot of people are practicing, calling Christianity, I mean, you could call it Christianity, but it's not what Jesus was teaching.
Right.
And so that's what we're going to be talking about with this particular series. As we're here with you all every Sunday, we're going to be talking truth. I'm a truth teacher.
Right.
So if you're ready for truth, you're in the right place, and we welcome you. I welcome you. Vasandra, you welcome them?
I welcome you with open arms and a big old hug.
All right. Okay, so, and I know I was just talking and you all could not see me. My apologies. We're gonna I promise you, we're going to get this whole thing tight. By the time we're done with it, it's gonna be smooth. This is day one.
Yes, it is. It is day one. And the wonderful thing about it, you know, when you talk about some of the lessons that are in the Course in Miracles, one of the first lessons that really, you know, I guess got my attention is then when we start talking about what we see with our eyes, you know, it says, nothing I see in this room, anything. That's the first lesson. Nothing I see in this room means anything. What nothing I see on the street means anything. Nothing I see on my wall. Nothing I see on my computer. Nothing I see, you know, in this feed here means anything, because it only means what you put on it to mean, you know. So it's up to you to empty out your thoughts around the meanings that you might have around things. Like, say, for instance, this call or this webinar ended, started a little bit late. Look at that and say, oh my God, these people say they are starting at 1 o'clock. They didn't even start on time. It's something wrong. Well, that's one way of looking at it. But if you really go to this, it doesn't mean anything. If you were there, if you are there eagerly waiting for this session to begin, and you were able to take a couple of deep breaths and, you know, kind of release things and get prepared for this food, this spiritual food that you're going to get today and every week on Sunday from this day on, if you were there waiting and excited about it, then guess what? You can just sit there and be in that moment and embrace all of that and forget any meaning that you might want to place on that, because the intention of our hearts, the intention of Kanaya's heart and my heart is not to waste your time. It is not to put you through any changes when you get here on Sunday. It is to feed you with something that you can use every day, all week long, as you go through your day, on the job, in your relationships, in your family. Anything that you do, you are going to be able to use the tools and resources we're going to share with you in these sessions, and you're going to get a new meaning, and you're going to release some of the negative thoughts that have become so prominent about everything. Have you ever talked? Everything they say is a complaint or a problem. How could everything in your life be a problem? Can we talk about some of the good things? Can we talk about the fact that we have these two young women, one 40-something, one 50-something, who care so deeply that they would put this into their daily Sunday activities, because they really want to see world peace, and they want to see people in their lives excelling and doing well and living abundantly, happy, joyfully, and just really being at peace. Can you think of that instead of thinking about what time the session started? You know, so that's where we are going to go with this. And I'm just going to give you a couple of the sections that you can look forward to. So one of the things we're going to talk about in the very first chapter is the principle of miracles. So we talk about this being a course in miracles, but what are the principles of miracles? So in our session that you're going to join us in on next Sunday, that's going to be our topic of discussion. We're going to talk about the meaning of miracles. How do miracles actually show up in our lives? And you know, the one sentence that starts in this section is in essence, a miracle as defined by the Course in Miracles is a correction in our perception. That's all a miracle is. And we're going to dig into that a little bit deeper so that we can really assist you with just taking that in and understanding that miracles are not necessarily what we might believe, like say in the time of Jesus Christ, when he was walking the earth and he went about and into the different areas and people were around everywhere coming to hear his message. They wanted to see, what is this Jesus talking about? How is he bringing these multitudes together and causing change to occur? And we see or read about these situations where he may speak to the person and say, you know, you are healed. Yeah, get up and walk. You are healed. You know, he might even ask them a question and then they respond. And basically he says, by your faith, you are healed. You know, so these are the things that happen that we think of. These are the only things that are manifestations of miracles. But it is a miracle when you can shift your mind after watching the news, see on a regular basis, and you can move out of that mindset into one of peace and love and joy. That's a miracle all in itself, because some people are depressed, ready to jump off of bridges. They want to end their lives. They're going through so many things as a result of what they are seeing with their physical eyes. We're going to take you to a place where you can begin to see through insight, this third eye. We're going to go inside and we're going to help you to have a different perspective. And that's when you really truly begin to see miracles, or some people might call it serendipitous experiences all around you, because they are everywhere.
All the time. All the time.
Yes.
So and so in order for you to participate with this, there's a couple of things you're going to need. So one, you're going to need the book. Like we said, if you go ahead and you join us, we have a link for you guys to get a PDF copy. So you can always, of course, buy the hardcover text. You can also get it on Kindle. They actually also have a digital version you can just have on your computer if you're still, you know, if that's how you roll. I'm a mobile type of diva. So I went ahead and I have my old physical copy. Look, I got bookmarks, I've got highlights, but however you learn, it's fine. It's fine. But you're going to need your book. And when you join us next week on Sunday at 1, you're going to need to have gotten started. Yes. So the way the course is set up is really interesting. In this text, you'll see it's pretty thick, but it comes in multiple parts. Okay. So there's the text, which we're going to be studying, and it's separated in chapters. Okay. But then there's also what's called the workbook for students. All right. And the workbook for students has daily lessons, because we said this is practical. This is about applying this into your life. And so with the daily lessons, what they're designed to do is to help you begin to have the transformation of your mind. Or we want to, somebody quoting scripture, having that renewal of your mind.
Yes.
You see, that's what we're talking about, being saved and born again. It's a renewing of your mind, but your mind cannot be renewed if you don't get some new information to go in there. And consider that your mind's being renewed whether you are aware of it or not. So when you're watching the news and you're listening to things and you're consuming information, it is renewing your mind to believe in scarcity, lack, fear, anger, all of that. Or you can intentionally renew your mind. And that's what we're talking about. That's what we're doing. We're intentionally choosing to renew our minds. so
Yeah.
that we, again, are operating from the space of divine. So you're going to need your text, and you're going to need to begin doing the daily lessons. The daily lessons are all available online.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, the text you can get for free as a PDF, so you can begin immediately. So
Mm-hmm.
when we meet on next Sunday, we should be 7 lessons in,
Yeah.
folks. Right? In the
Woo!
workbook portion, we're going to be 7 lessons in. So we will be reflecting on those, and we welcome your discussion. This is actually a discussion. It's a dialogue. This isn't you, looking at us. So that's why we need you to join us on our weekly hangout on the page, because you can type your comments in right there.
Right.
And then from time to time, we'll actually have guests in with us here on the live hangout. But we
Yeah.
want to dialogue with you. So make sure you're joining us over there so that you can be inside the discussion. So
Mm-hmm.
you want to start your lessons first thing tomorrow morning. Okay.
Yoo-hoo.
Every day. If you skip a day, don't kick yourself. It's all right. I
Yes.
promise.
Yes.
If you get stuck on the lesson, that's okay too. Sometimes you'll be like, what? Huh?
I don't get
I
this.
need to I need a little more time. That's okay too. There are 365 lessons. So, and but don't get so caught up on that timeline that you don't honor your internal teacher.
Right.
See, the whole point of this is for you to truly get reconnected
Mm-hmm.
with your Holy Spirit, your inner voice, your internal teacher, which will begin to tell you whether you need to stay on a lesson for a little bit or it's time for you to move on.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to try to keep up with us. There's no spoilers. It doesn't work that way. Okay. So make sure you get your book. Okay. Um, the book, the hardcore cover one, so it has your preface, it has your text, it has your workbook for students, it has your manuals for teachers. Ultimately, guess what, everybody? We all become
We
teachers.
are teachers.
Yeah, you all become teachers. So you get a manual. Isn't that awesome? It has clarifications of terms, like a glossary, as it were. It goes really deep, so you can begin to understand better what we're talking about. And there's some supplements. So it's an awesome text to have. It's really rich. I love it. When I first found this book, it kind of blew my mind. But it's great. If you're
On
here
purpose.
and if you're interested in this, just consider only those who have ears will hear. So if you're
Woo.
here and you're intrigued, now is your time. They always say
Mm.
that when the student is ready, the master will appear. And the reverse is true, is that when the master or the teacher is ready, the student will appear. So if you're here, it's not a mistake.
Mm.
You've probably been thinking about things in the world of spirituality, or maybe wondering, like, what is it all about? Or guess what?
Mhm.
It's here to find here. You're here and you're in the right place at the right time. And so we welcome you.
Yes, we absolutely welcome you. And we want you to make sure that you are connected to our group page as well. Because throughout the week, even though we're just getting together on Sundays at 1 o'clock p.m., throughout the week, we will be sharing little nuggets in the group page. And you have the opportunity to engage in discussion. If you read the first lesson and you said, what the heck? I don't believe this crazy stuff. I am not going to be doing this. And I think both of you are crazy. And you want to say that in the group page, we welcome you to do that. Because
Yes.
this is not about no fire and brimstone. If you don't do it this way, you're going to go to hell and burn and for all damnation. This is not what we're doing here. We are simply introducing something that we have found useful, beneficial in our lives. We're sharing it with you as an extension of who we are, because guess what? If we are all connected to God, the source of all things, then guess what? I am connected to you. You are connected to me. We are
Yes.
all connected to each other. And so
Yes.
our evolution, our growth, our moving to the next level depends upon us sharing with one another things that we have learned and come across that can benefit all of humanity. And that's what this text is all about, benefiting all humanity. It doesn't matter what walk of life you come from, doesn't matter what your bank account says, doesn't matter what color your skin is, nothing matters here because we are one. And one thing I wanted to point out, because Kanaya mentioned something earlier about, people saying certain things about, chocolate people thinking that, there's no way you can believe in Christianity and this and that if you believe this and those type of things. One thing I want to bring to your attention is when you begin to really dig into New Thought books and information that you receive, look at the symbols. Look at the symbols that you see on these books and in the text, and you will begin to see that those symbols are the same symbols that are used in ancient texts from our own culture, which is the culture of all people, because we all came from one place. If we get this right, if we understand this, then we really see that there are no differences. We all come from the same place.
All
and
come from the
the
same
same
place, baby.
people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, that's where you will, I promise, you'll get to that. And it's not, but and that's not as to say that there's no such thing as different cultures and there's no such thing as different experiences. We are spiritual beings having a physical experience. So this skin suit that I'm wearing happens to belong to a fabulous female of African descent who was born in 1976 in the place on the planet we call Detroit, Michigan.
Yes.
All right. That's just like the experience I'm having. But the true source of me is spirit. It's so you can have your cultural identification and love it. I promise. You can have your culture. You can have your race. You can have your country. You can have your nation. And at the exact same time, know that ultimately we are all one. It's a really interesting thing. So it's like I can love everybody and know that I'm one with everybody. And I also get to be a Black woman. I get to be a member of a sorority, Delta Sigma Theta. I get to be a Detroiter. I get to be, an AT alien, I guess at this point, right? All of it. Like you get you're going to get that this, excuse me, this concept of duality is an illusion. It's just something we make up. It's so awesome, you guys. It's so awesome. You're going to have a lot of fun seeing how your view of the world expands and you become so much more empowered. When you can give up this illusion of separation, it's amazing. It's amazing. I'm excited for you all. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for me because when Sandra just shared, let me tell you guys, one of the things you'll also get in this course is you can only teach what you need to learn. But I'm going to go a step further to say you need to teach what you learn. When you hold it in, when you have that, the best analogy I got inside of my training was imagine that God is the ocean. Okay. No, God is water. Let's even say that. God is all precipitation, meaning whether it be ocean, cloud, rain, snow, God is all water. And then we are expressions of it. You might be a raindrop, you might be a brook, a stream, an ocean, a cloud. It's all water, right?
Yes.
And it has infinite, there's no ending. There's no shortage of water. Water just changes state. Okay? But so let's say we are a stream and then we have this water coming from a source, right? And we're like, I want to put a dam in here. I'm going to make this steam into a pond and it's not going to have an outlet. You know, when water sits and it's not moving, what does it do?
It's stagnant and stinky.
It's rancid and it stinks and it grows algae and all kinds of icky, gross stuff. Guess what? When you're having information downloaded into you and you're absorbing information and you don't keep the flow going, meaning you give as you receive, you become stuck. You become stagnant. You become rancid. You become gross.
Yes.
Flow.
Yes.
As you receive, you give. Oh, we're going to get into the law of reciprocity. We're going to get into the, there's just so much we're going to get into, you guys. Your life will not be the same. I'm going to tell you this. My life won't be the same. I have been resisting this for years. I have been afraid to teach what I have learned because I was afraid that people would be like, this is blasphemous. Oh, you're going to hell. I had all this concern. And I apologize because I've been keeping this from the world. I've been sharing it here and there with a few select people, transforming a couple of lives. But I wasn't out here playing full out. And on January 1st, I was doing a soul coaching card reading because I do readings. And my word for the year, for my overall theme, was action. It was like, stop thinking, stop planning. All my I'm in my head all the time, you guys. I'm a thinker. I'm an engineer, scientist type, but I'm also super creative. It's really interesting. But I was way over here in the theoretical planning.
Yeah.
I wasn't in action. I am in action, which is why this happened today. Now, of course, because I have all this fear and concern, we're going to have technical difficulties because I stayed up till 3 a.m, like putting everything together, right? And then, of course, when I go to like log on, my computer's like, that's just my resistance. That's all it was. It was my little resistance. And I took action anyway, right? And through it. Because that's the key. If I want to see my life totally transform, if I want to see myself get all the blessings that Spirit and God has promised me as my birthright, I've got to do my part. I've got to flow. So you all are going to get all, I'm just going to be flowing and giving and giving and giving. So if you're ready to receive baby cakes, you are in the right place at the right time because I'm in action, sugar. Hey!
Yeah. Yay! That's what I'm talking about. And you have an amazing friend and partner over here that senses your little trepidation. And I'm going to push you right along as I grow and move as well, because I am currently in ministerial training and I'm a little backed up as far as my getting done with this training in a timely manner. And we know that time, really time is art. So we get to create it and make it how we want to. Time is not as defined as what we tend to believe in this society. So I am moving away from this idea of having a fixed mindset around when things are supposed to happen and how things are supposed to happen. And I am basically saying, hey, collaboration is my word for the year. I am looking to collaborate with as many people as possible, because as I support others and we support one another, we grow together exponentially because of that bringing on additional energies. We can do so much more together than we can do alone. And so I am going to ask you to encourage me as I continue on this path in my ministerial training, because I'm going to be an ordained minister like Kanaya one day when I grow up.
Hey.
But the ministry doesn't have to wait until that point, is the point that I'm making. It doesn't matter if I graduate in December of 2018, it does not matter what date it is, because when I received and accepted the call to ministry, my ministry began then. So I'm not going to wait for a piece of paper. God has given me a message to share with the world. And the message is simply, you are divine. That's it. You are divine. And if you don't believe it, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you how divine you are.
Boom.
So So yes, I think we have taken up our time today, and we want to make sure that we are respectful. When you take your time to be with us, we want to make sure that we are respectful of your time. So at this point, what we're going to do is just recap. We want you to do the first 7. You're going to begin with exercise number 1. You're going to begin in the first chapter with reading the text. You are going to go to our page, New Thought, New Life, and you are going to like our page. You're going to go to our group, and you are going to join our group as well, which is where you're going to find all kinds of wonderful nuggets and information that you can use throughout the week. And you are going to remember that we are here for you. We are here to support you as you take on new ideas and a new perception about yourself and who you are. That's what
Yes.
is going on. And we're just super excited to be a part of your transformation.
All right. Again, thank you all so much for joining us. I would say, again, first 7 lessons, and also let's do chapter 1 in the text. It's 15 pages, so it's a pretty short amount, right? And so we're going to do chapter 1, first 7 lessons. Some of the chapters are very dense, so we're not going to go chapter by chapter, week by week, but chapter 1, we can do 15 pages. Probably read the introduction, but familiarize yourself with it. If you're in our Facebook group, that's where you can pose questions throughout the week. Any questions we are not able to answer, maybe during the week, we'll address them live. So if you put them in the group, then we'll be able to answer them for you, and we'd be more than happy to do that. Until anything else you want to add in, V?
That's it. I just want to thank you, Kanaya, for saying yes to this opportunity to really extend ourselves to humanity. And I'm looking forward to this. I don't know about you, but I am truly looking forward to this.
Yeah, I am. I am looking forward to it. And I'm thank you, for pushing. Thank you for requesting, for coaching, for believing, for helping me step into who I am and who I know I am, and not letting me hide out from the world. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And for everyone who's been watching, and everyone who's going to be joining us, thank you. Thank you for taking on your life. Thank you for listening to the call, and for joining us on this journey back to love, and knowing that we are love and we are one. And there's more of us who know this. Guess what? The more the world will change. So I always end my things with be well and stay fabulous. But I also say with this, remember, if you change your thoughts, you change your life.
Absolutely. Peace and love to you.
Peace and love.